Hi, everybody. My name is Kobe Warner, and welcome back to my podcast, KOBLIZZY. Today, I'm going to be talking about my summer favorites. We are nearing the end of August, and I'm going to be talking about all my favorites from the summer. That is May, June, July, and August. I'm talking music, movies, television show, books. I'm going to show you some CDs if you're watching the videos. I'm going to show you some heels if you're watching the videos. So, I do recommend watching the video this episode if you can. If you don't have Spotify, it's available on YouTube. So now, without further ado, I'm going to get into my summer favorites. In true fashion of this podcast, I'm going to start with music, and I'm going to talk albums first. You know I'm going to talk about Renaissance. That's the first album on my summer favorites. I have been obsessed with Renaissance ever since it came out at the end of July. It is just a masterpiece and a reclamation of house music for Black people. And Beyonce just does a fantastic job of paying homage to queer people. Her dedication to her Uncle Johnny was beautiful. And the album is gorgeous sonically. The transitions are seamless. And it just makes you want to get up and dance. Like, what else do you want in the summer but to get up and dance? I mean, it was the perfect summer release. I'm so happy Beyonce decided to come back after so many years of not releasing a solo album. It is a masterpiece. And I have a physical copy. I already showed it to you before, but here it is. I showed you the little poster. Has some gorgeous, I know the video is a little crunchy, but it does have some pretty pictures. And yeah, Renaissance. I know I said it a million times on this podcast in the few episodes we've done, but if you haven't heard Renaissance, get into it, bitch. And I'm going to mention a couple of songs from each album that I love, my highlights. For Renaissance, it's Alien Superstar, Cuff It, Energy, and Heated. You might have been able to guess. My next album and my summer favorites is Harry's House. Hey, I love this album. It's so good. It is so good. I feel like Harry Styles is one of those artists that just doesn't have a bad song. Like in all of his albums, all three of his albums, I don't know much One Direction music, but I know all three of his albums very well. And there's not a bad song. My favorites on this album are Late Night Talking, Grape Juice, Cinema, Boyfriends, Love of My Life. I love Keep Driving. Matilda's Heartbreaking. Little Freak's great. Daylight. Every song's good. Daylight's good. Satellite. I think that's every song. As It Was. I was in the top 0.1% of As It Was on Spotify when it came out, and I have the receipts. Can you see that? It says, I was in the first 0.1% streams of Harry Styles' As It Was. And it was when it hit 1 billion streams on Spotify, they sent that out. So there's me. The next album I'm going to talk about, I actually don't have a physical copy for, but I love it. I actually discovered it last summer, but it's going to be on my summer 2022 favorites because I've re-fallen in love with it all over again this summer. It's so good. What's Your Pleasure by Jessie Ware. It's fantastic. Jessie Ware makes like disco influenced music, I think is a good way to describe her music. It's really great. My favorite tracks are Spotlight, What's Your Pleasure, the song, Soul Control, Save a Kiss is really great, Remember Where You Are, the closer, is really great too. I love that album, and I don't have a physical copy, but I will be getting one. So if you don't know What's Your Pleasure and you're into like disco vibes and you want to ascend and vibe and just dance around, I love to dance around my room, and I just like to listen to upbeat music. And I'm in a pop music era right now, so I'm just living my best gay life in my pop music era. And this music is great. So my albums for the summer 2020 are Renaissance, Harry's House, and What's Your Pleasure. Those are my three highlights. Obviously, I listened to tons more albums, but those were the three that I've really been loving most recently this summer. Now I'm going to do a couple of track highlights, a couple of songs from the summer of 2022. The first one is Garden by SZA. I actually have a physical copy of Control here. So if you don't know Control, it's a classic, and I love Control. I've always loved it ever since it came out. But this summer, I've really been loving Garden. My next song highlight is Heard About Us from Everything Is Love by the Carters. Again, this album came out in 2018. I've loved it ever since then. It actually came out in the summer of 2018. So I've loved it for 4 summers now, and I want them all, to quote Taylor Swift. I love Everything Is Love by the Carters, but this summer, I've been loving Heard About Us. My next song favorite is Movies by Conan Gray from his sophomore album, Super Ache. Another one that I have a physical copy for. This one actually is signed. The CD's not signed, but it came with a little signed piece of paper. It says CG. CD has a rose on it. It's cute. I didn't show you the insides of the other CD cases because those CDs are in a portable CD case that I take with me in my car so I can listen to them. And so I haven't showed you those. But here's Super Egg. It's in here. I haven't listened to this one actually yet since I got it. I usually don't listen to the signed ones. My next two favorites, the last two, to complete the 5 of my summer 22 favorites in the track highlights, I don't have physical copies for, but I've talked about one of them before. That's In the Kitchen by Renee Rapp. If you listened to that episode, I don't remember which one it was, but I talked about it before, and I love that song. Still love it. Still obsessed. The lyrics still hit me in my gut every single time. I love that song. She ate that shit up. Go listen to In the Kitchen by Renee Rapp. I love that bitch. I love her. And the last one's I Miss You by Beyonce. That song was actually written by Frank Ocean, I learned, originally, and then I'm sure Beyonce, sprinkled her little flavor on it in the studio. That song is just, it's so simple, but it's great. I miss you. Like every day, wanna be with you, but you're away. I miss you like every day. I wanna be with you, but you're away. I said I miss you, missing you insane. But if I got with you, could it feel the same? I just love that song. I Miss You by Beyonce from her 4th album, aptly titled 4. Get into that. That album is amazing. She made it in a time actually where EDM music was the trend. This titanium, that shit back in the day. Not that Titanium's not a good song, because it is. It's a great song. It's a classic. But Beyonce released 4, which was like a 80s like pop R&B synthy Mike Dean just fantasy. And The Dream. The producer, The Dream, he was on 4 too. He's also on Renaissance. I actually don't know if Mike Dean was on 4. So Mike Dean actually did not work on 4, but The Dream did. But Mike Dean did work on Renaissance, and so did The Dream. But anyway, 4 is a great album, super 80s pop and R&B influenced, and it was released in a time where that was not the standard, and it was considered a flop by the haters and locals at the time. But that was actually the album that made me become a fan of Beyonce. Came out when I was like 9, and I was obsessed. So I love 4. Brings back a lot of good memories. But I Miss You is the song that I loved from 4 this summer. And that wraps up my summer track highlights of 2022. Now I'm going to move on to my favorite television shows of the summer in 2022. 2/3 of them are reality TV shows because that's what I watch, so that's what it is. But the first one's Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. I started that joker when I was in New York with my friend Bella in June. Bitch, I'm on season 7. Like, I'm zooming through that hoe. When I started watching Real Housewives of Atlanta last summer, I was not watching it that quick. Although I do like Real Housewives of Atlanta more. It's like the classic for me. It's the one that really gets me makes me belly laugh. Real Housewives of Beverly Hills is good. I like it. It's cute. I'm on season 7. So I really have been loving the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Also loved RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars 7. So I watched it live every week when it came out. But now Monet and Bob are doing Sibling Watchery, which is like their reaction drag race show. But they're doing it for All-Stars 7 now, immediately after Monet's run on All-Stars 7, where she came in 2nd place, even though she did eat that lip sync up. Team Monet. Love you, Jinx, but Team Monet. Anyway, they're doing Watchery, and so I'm like reliving it right now. And so I've really consumed a lot of All-Stars 7 this summer, and I've really been loving it. And I've watched every season, every American season, and UK and Canada that's been live since like 2020. That's when I started really getting into it. So yeah, but All-Star 7 was great. Loved it. All Winners. Get into All Winners if you haven't seen it. It's on Paramount Plus. My next favorite TV show of the summer of 2020 is American Horror Stories. Not American Horror Story. That's the original. That is one of my favorite TV shows of all time. But American Horror Stories, plural, is the spinoff. And it's like the same, you know how each season of American Horror Story is like a story? Each episode of American Horror Stories is a story. So each episode stands by itself of each season. Each one stands alone. And they're really good. So I highly recommend American Horror Stories. They have 2 seasons now. The first season came out like last year. Second season's still airing at the time of filming. It is super good. If you like scary stuff. It's not horrifying, but it's certainly not pleasant. So that is all the TV shows of my summer 2022 favorites. I'm going to talk about a movie. I saw an ad for They/Them on Peacock a month or two ago, and I was like, they're making a horror movie called They/Them. That is so funny. Like, I even posted on my private story. I watched it, and it was actually pretty good. It was a slasher movie that takes place at a gay conversion therapy camp, which is a pretty unique take on a horror movie. And it had great queer representation. So I enjoyed it. It was a good movie. It wasn't, like, horrifying. So if you're going to watch a scary movie that's going to, like, knock your socks off, it's not that. But it was cute. I really liked it. And I was happy for the queer representation. So yeah, They/Them on Peacock. It was good. Now I want to talk about a book. Notice I said book and not books. I am not really a reader nowadays. I used to read all the time. Now I'm more of a listener. I love an audiobook, but I love podcasts. I love music. And I love watching television and movies. I love consuming even educational media in listening and watching forms. I'm not really a reader. This is the only book I've been reading this summer, and I'm still not finished. But what I've read so far is amazing. Billy Porter, Unprotected. 30% off at Target. It's a memoir. It's about his life. My mom listened to the audiobook and I started reading it, and she finished the audiobook, and I'm still not done with the book, but she has not spoiled it for me. But oh my gosh, Billy Porter is a queer icon, and this book and the story of his life, it's incredible to pull on your heartstrings, but it's a story of overcoming, and he is an icon and a legend, and he is the moment. Unprotected by Billy Porter. I know most of you probably don't read either, so listen to it on Audible or something. Magazines. There's a magazine category now. When Harry's House was rolling out, Harry did this Better Homes and Garden magazine cover, and I got 2 of them, but this is one, and it's so cute. And let's show you some more pictures if you're watching the video, which you should be on Spotify and YouTube. Here's Harry in a cute pajama set. Here's Harry on his head. He is so stinking cute. Here's Harry literally in his knickers getting into a body of water. That's it. But yeah, anyway, this magazine was super cute. It was the June 2020 issue of Better Homes and Garden. 2022. And I searched high and low for it before I found it. But once I found it, I bought 2 because I was afraid I'd never be able to find it again. So there's that. Now I'm going to talk about my next favorite, which is heels. Right before I taped this episode, I was on Instagram and I saw a reel that Taron Talk posted. That's at TaronTalk. Taron posted a reel talking about how when he was a kid, let me check pronouns. Him, he, they. Okay. Taron posted a video talking about when he was a kid. He really wanted to wear heels, but he was afraid. He thought they weren't for him. And oh my God, I could not relate more. And the first time that I wore heels, junior year of high school to junior prom with my best friend Georgia as my date, one of my best friends, one of my oldest friends. I was so excited. I was nervous. The feeling is indescribable. It was liberating. It was exhilarating. It felt affirming. It felt right. It felt real. And those shoes were fucking like 2 sizes too small because I couldn't find heels big enough for me last minute for prom. But they were like 2 sizes too small, and I felt so good in those tight ass, uncomfortable ass shoes. I will never forget that night. And so I'm going to do some heels in my summer favorites. This is a trusty dusty pair, and it's actually very similar to the pair that I wore my very first time wearing heels. These are actually like rose colored. You can't really tell on this video. They look more nude. But anyway, the very first pair of heels that I wore were just like these, except they had a skinny heel. They were just like them, except they had a skinny heel. And I got these right after, and they're actually the right size. And so I've been wearing these ever since, and I love them. I also have them in black. And the next pair of heels that I'm going to talk about is a pair of heels that I've only worn in public a singular time for a showcase that I did that was honoring Tina Turner at that school that I used to go to. And these are 8 inches tall, and they only make them up to a size 14. These are pleasers, and pleaser only goes up to a size 14 in these specific shoes. And so they're a size too small for me in heels. I actually wear a 15 in heels, a 13 in men's shoes, but a 15 in heels. Yeah, those shoes were iconic, legendary. They are the moment. And the glittery black suit that I wore with that was oh so fitted and tight at my waist, I looked so good that night. It was very good. I just wish I would have shaved. I don't have enough hormones to make an actual beard, and so I just get like this patchy hot mess Anyway, so I wish I would have shaved that off. But other than that, I looked great. My last favorite is actually going to be the wall behind me. I did this photo wall. If you're watching the video, I'm showing you. I did this photo wall this summer, and I did it on the wall in front of me also that you can't see. But I love it. I think maybe some other queer people might be able to agree, but pop culture has been a really important part of my life for a really long time. Ever since I can remember, I've always been like a big fan of somebody. Like I've always looked to celebrities, usually women, to idolize and find like power and hope and courage in. So this wall is really like my wall of icons. It's a wall of all my favorite people. Same goes for the wall that's in front of me that you can't see. Bimini, Billy Porter, Harry Styles, Beyonce, Zendaya, RuPaul, Ariana Grande, Conan Gray, Lil Nas X, Marilyn Monroe, Cher, Miley Cyrus, if I didn't already say that, Prince, John Baptiste, Martin Luther King flipping people off right there. It's a great wall. Miley Cyrus, Billy Porter, me, Simone, the drag queen. It's a great wall. It's great fun. I printed all these pictures out for like $1 a piece at FedEx, the FedEx office store. You can do that online if you print the prints out. They're 11 by 17. I got all the pictures from magazine websites because they put the full resolution photos on the website. And here's a pro tip. If you right click on the photo that you want and open it in a new tab and then download it to your computer, it'll save at a higher resolution than if you download it directly off the website page. Does that make sense? I hope so. Anyway, yeah, these pictures were like $1 a piece or less. The black and white ones are only 34 cents. Again, 11 by 17. FedEx office. If you have one near you, go put some pictures on your walls. I just wanted to recap a couple of my favorite things this summer. It's been a good time. Let's talk about some things I did this summer. I kicked the summer off by going on a trip to St. Simon's Island, like right at the beginning of May, I think. It might have been right at the end of April, which isn't really summer. But anyway, I went on a trip to see my bestie Jack and some others in the Addams Family at my high school, and they did a great job. And then I went home and I did some other stuff. And then I signed with a modeling agency. And then I went back to my hometown to hang out with my friends. And then I went to New York City for Pride, which was a great time with my friend Bella. And I went on vacation to a beach in Florida with my parents. And I went to my hometown again, like a couple of weeks ago, to visit my friends one more time before a couple of them went away to college. So yeah, it's been a fun summer. I love to go on trips in the summer, just fly by the seat of my pants, really. Just have a good time, spend time with my friends. I actually do have one more favorite that really involves my friends. I've been loving these disposable film cameras. I got a bunch of these from Walmart months ago, and I've not run out of them yet. But this one's actually almost done, and I'll take it to a photo store that's like half an hour away from my house, develop it for $10, and they email me all these super high res, beautiful, gorgeous film pictures that I love to post on social media and keep for memories and print out and put on my wall. So I really, really, really love these film cameras. You can also get reusable disposable film cameras, but I'm not sure if I'm ready to make that commitment yet. I don't know if it's like a long-term love for me, but I've been loving them for like the past year or so, so maybe I should invest. But yeah, so I love those disposable film cameras, and I love you for listening or watching if you did. This episode of my podcast was recapping my summer favorites. So I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you'll let me know some of your favorites on my social media. You can let me know at KOBLIZZY on all platforms, and you can follow me while you're at it. So I hope you enjoyed listening to this podcast, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.